Anger, confusion. Is American credibility on the line? We just heard the UN spokesman discuss the consensus of the international community to have to deal with their chemical weapons problems, but that's something the Security Council so far has not done. Let's now bring in former UN Ambassador John Bolton, former United States Ambassador to the UN, Senior Fellow at the American Enterprise Institute and a Fox News contributor. Ambassador, good morning. We just heard what the UN spokesman said about chemical weapons. What do you think that the President's decision has now done to the credibility of the United States and his policy?
Well, I think it was a grave failure of presidential leadership, and I think it undercuts President Obama's credibility even more than he himself undercut it previously. And I say this as someone who doesn't favor using force in the Syrian context. I think the president's wavering back and forth, this Hamlet routine in public, is something that the opponents of the United States in the Middle East can only take comfort from. In Iran, Assad in Syria, the Russians who have been Assad's loyal ally. We're not going to see action in Congress on the 9th of September. You can bet on that. It will take some period of time thereafter. That gives the Assad regime time to prepare on the battlefield, and it sends a signal to the opposition that it'll be a long time before there's a clear American decision.
Well, polls show about 80% of Americans do not favor such a strike. What would you say to those who think this is judicious, intelligent, cautious, being very careful and thoughtful not to drag the U.S. into something with unknown consequences?
Well, if the president has made a decision that the use of military force is justified, he has full constitutional authority to carry it out. And when you turn the question over to 535 secretaries of state, secretaries of defense, would-be presidents, you're inviting amendment and debate and delay on a resolution. One can only guess what the final outcome will be. This is why the executive power is entrusted to one person under the Constitution, not to 535. I think the president has had his eye on the wrong issue all along. Unfortunately, so have many others. I think Syria, humanitarian tragedy though it is not the key geostrategic issue in the region. The key issue is Iran. It's Iran's nuclear weapons program. It's Iran's support for terrorism. It's Iran's support for the Assad regime. But instead of dealing seriously with that manifest threat to the United States, to Israel, to our Arab friends in the region, we have focused instead on Syria. And I think that's a policy that we're going to pay for down the road.